right, we're back with Roundtable 105, and we got the heavy hitters in the house, baby. Got Dangerous Dave from the 408 The Shoe Shine podcast, baby. We got Corey Lee's Boxing. What's up, Corey? And we got the better half of Ringside Reporter, the man behind the machine here is Eric Lorda. And as always, we got El Capitan, the head honcho of HCP, D-Style Boxing. So let's get started. We got some breaking news tonight. Caught me off guard. Caleb Plant, David Benavidez, supposedly in talks. Caleb Plant tweeted out that he signed his portion of the contract. But you know how these things go. You know, there's always two sides to a story. And this is a PBC fight, or will be a PBC fight with two PBC fighters. So let's cross our fingers. Hate to be that, Debbie Downer here, but we all know whenever PBC is involved, the common denominator, as Steve Kim likes to say, there's always some issues. So let's start with you, Mr. Lorda. What do you think? Do you think this fight will happen? Are you excited about this news? Or do you think this is just all talk like a lot of stuff in boxing seems to be nowadays?
I have it on good authority that this fight is going to take place. My sources inside say the fight's going to take place. And Mike Coppinger personally said he just tweeted out that the fight is going to take place. He did a big story on it. Now, I did read somewhere that David Benavidez has actually signed the contract also. So, yeah, I think it's going to happen. It's not like a one of those, it's not like a Spence Crawford type fight in the sense that it's going to be hard to make, or for whatever reason it's hard to make. This is a very makeable fight. They're both on the same side of the street, both same promotion and everything like that. So, yeah, I have no reason to think that this fight won't take place. Now, will it take place in January? I don't think so, but who knows?
Okay. D-Style, what are your thoughts? Are you excited about this? You optimistic? Do you think this news is legit?
I definitely do think it's legit. A couple of things. The Uzcategui fight just suddenly got scrapped, and supposedly because of backlash from the fans. Since when does PBC care about backlash from the fans? I think I don't know exactly what happened, but I just have this feeling that they're being pressured by the network to start delivering some fights. I just have this feeling, and that's why they're coming out hot. With think about it, Tim Tszyu, Jermell Charlo, now this fight, and what you're saying, what's strange is I think PBC is the only entity ever where people will mention the fact that it's two PBC fighters as if that's an obstacle. Like that shouldn't be an obstacle. That should be like a gimme. It's an in-house fight. You're under the same, let's call it what it is. PBC is a promoter, a shadow promoter, but a promoter nonetheless. I'm optimistic this fight happens. I'm excited for it. I think both fighters do want it. I think Plant is in a position where he knows he needs to do something spectacular if anybody even wants to whisper a fight with him and Canelo again. Like, he needs to do something big, and a win over Benavidez is going to get some people talking. And Benavidez does need that signature win. He doesn't have it. People said it was Anthony Durrell. Did you just see what Plant did to Durrell? Is that your signature win for real? Well, now this is the fight, right? And if David Benavidez beats, Plant, which I believe he will, Canelo has to fight him. But there's no other way around it. And this is the old-fashioned way of making fights happen. If David Benavidez beats Plant in more convincing fashion than Canelo did, that's going to get people talking, all right? That's the water cooler talk and all that, and I can't wait for it, man. I think I'm very optimistic that this fight's going to happen.
Does Benavidez have the interim WBC title right now?
Yes.
Okay. Is this fight kind of like an eliminator, or is this just a regular fight?
I do not know what the fight is, but I know this. If Mauricio Suleiman says it's an eliminator, it's an eliminator.
Yeah.
Whatever Mauricio says.
Dave, what are your thoughts on this news?
Actually, I'm quite thrilled after hearing the Uzcategui fight fell apart over PEDs. I'm quite relieved to hear this fight is potentially going to be made. They arguably at PBC have one of the deepest talent pools of 168-pound fighters. Both Caleb Plant and Benavidez are former world champions at 168 pounds. And it's time for these guys to stop dreaming about the Canelo payday. The Plant already been lucky enough to have that. But if David Benavidez wants to get that shot at Canelo Alvarez next year, potentially in May or September, the big Mexican-American holidays, he's got to defeat Plant. Like D-Style just said, he's got to defeat Plant in a more convincing and entertaining fashion. And that's absolutely going to get the attention of the WBC. And hopefully they'll mandate the big fight between him and Canelo Alvarez.
Got you. Corey, what are your thoughts, man, on this intriguing matchup? Hopefully it happens.
Man, first of all, what's up to everybody today, man? And hope everybody's having a good day. But yeah, man, David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant, man. I think that fight goes down. Nobody wanted to see that Ustataki fight. And nobody really wants. I don't hear a lot of like casual fans clamoring for the David Morale fight versus David Benavidez. I know us hardcores do want to see that fight. You know, us hardcores definitely want to see that fight. But as far as a casual fan and actually going to spend money on that fight, I just don't see that fight making dollars. You know what I'm saying? And that's what boxing is about now. It's about making money. I think Caleb Plant is a face. He sold, some pretty good. He sold some pretty good buys in his portion on the Canelo Alvarez fight. It wasn't just Canelo Alvarez. Caleb Plant definitely, did his part. And I think, after you fight a guy like Canelo Alvarez, you kind of got, even if he lost the way he lost, people still think it was a, entertaining fight. And some people had Caleb Plant winning. So he still has steam coming off of that fight. And I just feel like now, with the Caleb Plant and the David Benavidez fight, I feel like if this fight could happen, I feel like this is going to be a blockbuster fight for us fans and the casuals as well.
Got you. Anyone have any early predictions for this fight? Who you guys got? We'll start with you. Right back at you, Corey. Who do you think is going to win this fight?
Who I think is going to win this fight? Caleb Plant is a slick boxer, man. He's really good. I know, him and Darrell had that thing, he didn't think he could get whipped by a white boy. Caleb Plant has some soul in him. Caleb Plant definitely has some soul in him when it comes to, rhythm and more of, the African-American fighter. You know what I'm saying? He's been trained by, plenty of African-American trainers and stuff like that. And I just feel like Caleb Plant knows how to, get out of the range of good shots. And I think if he could have just held on a little bit longer in the Canelo fight, I think it could have been definitely. I know the judges, I believe, had Canelo winning by a wide margin, but I just feel like it was a little bit tighter than what the judges had it. And I think, like I said, I just really think this fight is a good fight. And I think David Benavidez, I'm picking him to be a little bit too much. I think his weight, I think he has a big weight advantage. I think he could possibly fight at 175, but who wants to go up to 175 when you got Archer Betterby waiting for you? And I mean, it's just like at the end of the day, David Benavidez and Caleb Plant, they almost got to fight at this point. So it's just like I'm picking David Benavidez as an early candidate, but I do want to see, how each other's training camp goes.
Gotcha. D-Star, who are you picking early on this fight? Early prediction.
My early prediction will be David Benavidez by late round stoppage. I think Plant will look phenomenal for the first 4 or 5 rounds. Middle rounds, Benavidez will close the gap, and then he'll tire out the way he did against Ustaki late, the way he did against Canelo. Canelo's not even a high volume puncher or nothing like that, but just being in front of him like gas this dude out. Imagine David Benavidez, who's bigger, more physical, has far more volume. I think it's going to hurt Plant, and I think it's going to be a good fight, but I think Benavidez wins by late round stoppage.
Eric, you think Plant has a shot here, or you think Benavidez is going to wash him?
Yeah, no, I think Plant definitely has a shot here. I don't think he'll win, but I do think he has a shot here. It would surprise me, but to me, it wouldn't be a huge upset if he beat David Benavidez. You know what I mean? I think Plant's got a real shot here. He is a great boxer, everything like that. But I think my personal feeling is that Benavidez too big, too strong, and I think that that just plays too much of a factor. I think he wins a unanimous decision here.
Okay, Dave, what are your early thoughts on this fight? Who you got?
Oh, I love it. I have to agree a lot with Diestel on this one. I think it's going to play out a lot like the Canelo Alvarez and end up in a late stoppage for David Benavidez. Too much volume, too much pressure for Caleb Plant. But I will say that Caleb Plant did exceptionally well against Canelo in the early rounds. And I see him doing well again here with David Benavidez up until round 6, where the pressure will be too much and you'll start to see Caleb Plant fall apart.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Benavidez will get the stoppage. I think he'll pull it out. I think Plant will kind of fade. I think Plant will move early on, but I think like D-Style said, the pressure of Canelo got to him, and Benavidez is going to probably apply a lot more pressure than Canelo did. He's going to fight at a much faster pace, and I'm not so sure that Plant would be able to deal with that pace for the full 12 rounds. So yeah, I get Benavidez too by stoppage. I think he'll pull it out.
And just shout out to Plant, by the way. Just the dude shrinking Modelo, talking shit. Inside joke.
Yeah. So I want to move on to this next topic. Eric and I talked about this on Sunday, and we got a lot of different feedback from different people. Going into the fight, Jermaine Ortiz was believe he was like a minus 900. Not many people giving him a chance. I don't recall anyone picking him before the fight. But we had some Monday morning quarterbacks call in and like, oh, this was a fight that Lomanchenko shouldn't have taken. It was,
Were they pumped
too tough of a matchup for him. He should have took a softer touch. But people weren't saying this before the fight. So the question I have is this a result of Lomanchenko slipping a little bit, or was Jermaine Ortiz better than we thought, or was it a combination of both? Because this was a nail biter of a fight, in my opinion. But credit to Lomanchenko. I gave him the last 4 rounds of the fight, so I do think he closed very strong. But we'll start with you, Dave. Do you think Lomanchenko was slipping a little bit? Do you think it was a result of the layoff, or are we taking too much away from Jermaine Ortiz? Is he just that good?
It's a combination of both of those things equally. Lomachenko's definitely exhibited that he's slowing down now at 35 years old. It started in the Teofimo Lopez fight, where he gave up nearly all the first half of the fight and tried to come on strong late. Then he had the shoulder surgery injury. Then he had the long layoff. He did the heroic thing and went to Ukraine and comes back. Maybe he didn't have a full training camp, but nonetheless, all the credit to Jermaine Ortiz, who, if you've been watching him on Top Rank on the undercards, he did exceptionally well against Joseph Adorno and other prospects that equally had similar records. And then he took a huge step up in fighting former world champion Jamel Herring. And if you didn't see that, then you don't know why he got the opportunity to fight Lomachenko. And I have to say, he exceeded my expectations. I know he's good. I know he's slick and he can box. But this is a case where if the guy had already been fighting 12-round fights, he should have taken this fight and came away with a big upset over a former pound-for-pound champ. So I think Lomachenko is absolutely starting to fade. Sorry, Drew Evo, my co-host. I think he's starting to fade, exhibit age, and I think the Haney fight is going to be extremely difficult for him.
Yeah, I agree. Corey, what do you think, man? Do you think Lomachenko's slipping, or you just think Jermaine Ortiz was that good?
Man, this is a good subject, man. Wow. Salute to Ortiz, man. I can't say enough about what he did, man. He showed so much heart, man, so much determination. He was definitely the bigger fighter. You do got to give him that advantage. I feel like in points, he was actually the more slicker fighter. I feel like, Jermaine Ortiz, he didn't come out of nowhere. I definitely seen the Jamel Herring fight. I thought Jamel Herring was a Asian, veteran that, was not but definitely on a decline. So I didn't put that much stock in the Ortiz win. But when I seen the Lomanchenko fight, I was like, this kid is for real. This kid is definitely packing a good punch. He had got Lomanchenko's respect. And I just feel like, it just catapulted from there, man. I just really feel like Lomanchenko respected him. He knew that he had the power that could possibly buzz him, possibly stop him. And I think Lomanchenko was real tentative, man. I really haven't seen Lomanchenko be the same, like I was saying, since the Lopez fight. And I think, I just really think that, Lomanchenko had a lot on his mind. He still does. I think he's underweight for the 135-pound division. I think he should really fight at 130 or 126. But the big fights are at 135, so you got to go where the money is, and at this point, Devin Haney versus Lomanchenko, man, right now I'm favoring Devin Haney, man. I got to, man. If I'm a betting man, I'm putting a little bit of money on Lomanchenko. If the odds are good, he definitely still has a chance in this fight. But all signs are pointing to Lomanchenko going kind of on the downward spiral right now, man.
Yeah. Eric, what do you think, man? Do you think Lomanchenko is maybe dipping a little bit here? Do you think he's undersized for the weight class, or do you think just Jermaine Ortiz was better than we thought?
Listen, Jermaine Ortiz is good. I get it, but listen, Lomanchenko is in the wrong weight class. He's taken a lot of time off. He's got injuries. I think his age is starting to show, and he's had a lot of fights. He's got a lot of miles on him. He's had a bunch of amateur fights, pro fights, and everything like that. And he when his pro fights, these aren't normal pro fights. These are high level. It's not like they built him up. He was fighting top guys from the time he came in. So he's definitely got a lot of miles on him as a pro and an amateur, right? So given that fact, man, listen, he's slipping. I know there's a lot of people out there that love him and everything. Listen, I love him. I think he's a great fighter. But listen, his time has come. He's slipping. And if I'm Loma and you want to keep him fresh and you want to keep him, as like a, packing arenas and stuff, you put him in there with Devin Haney. Devin Haney's going to ruin that guy. That is an absolute wash. I'm going to tell you this right now. If those two fight, Devin Haney does not lose a round.
Whoa!
Washes him.
He
washes him. Let me tell you what. Devin Haney or Shakur Stevenson fight Loma. Loma does not win a round. No way.
Flawless victory.
Just like Mortal Kombat, baby. He's pulling his heart out, showing it to him before he knocks him out.
Get over here.
Flawless victory.
So,
no way he beats any one of those guys.
Are we hyping up Jermaine Ortiz a little too much here, or should we just give him his flowers? What's going on?
Well, first of all, just to address the fans saying, "Oh, they should have given Loma an easy one," and you can't like beg for fighters to get easy fights. Like, are you a fight fan or what? Like, who wants to see a guy just get an easy fight? And you got to be a serious fanboy if you're asking for easy fights for fighters. Okay, that's number one. Ain't nobody want to see that shit. And you know who else doesn't want to do that? Loma. And so shout out to him. Okay. Here's the thing with Loma. He's always, and I want people to listen to what I'm saying, but he's always been overvalued. Always. Okay. He was the favorite going into the Salido fight, and his only second pro fight. I predicted Salido to win that fight. I felt it was too soon, and guess what? It was. All right. Like, he was like 2-3 fights too soon, but they overvalued him. Teofimo, should he have been the favorite given where he was? Sure. But when I saw the odds, like 4-1, 3-1, whatever it was, I thought to myself, this is crazy. This dude ain't no 3-1, 4-1 favorite against Teofimo Lopez.
No.
And then Jermaine Ortiz, like, I was looking for the odds. I was thinking about, seeing what I can bet. And look, I went in there already knowing he's very high valued. Like, they overvalue him in the sports books. They just do. Expecting that, I was expecting him to be a plus, a minus 700 or something, Loma. Expecting that. And then I saw like minus 2,500. That is insane. So you put expectations up here and he performs here, which is really good. Guess people are comparing this to this. So they start saying things like he looked like trash and he looked so good and he's overrated, and he's overrated. Vasyl Lomanchenko, as much I've always been a fan of Lomanchenko, but he's always been overrated, overvalued. Okay, plus a minus 2,500. That is insane against somebody that just beat Herring, right? That's crazy. That you have to be overvaluing the guy. So is it? But he's still a great fighter, though. I'm not shedding on him. People just need to look up the word overrated and what it means. Okay, but he's a good fighter, and you know what? Right now, I think he's the third best lightweight in the entire planet, and there's no shame in that. All right, but I don't think he beats Haney right now, and I don't think he beats Shakur. And I've been saying he should go down to 130. But I'll say one more thing. If you're going to campaign in a weight class, if you want to campaign as a lightweight and you want credit for your wins, then you got to take the credit for your losses. Okay, all the advantages you have in speed, etc. Well, you got to also accept the disadvantages of size, etc. Because guess what? When you fought Gary Russell, you were the big guy and he was the little guy. Okay, and then nobody be saying, "Oh, well, you were too big for Gary. That's why you beat him." Oh, you were too big for Rigo. That's why you beat him. Remember, Loma fans, when you're saying size had nothing to do with the Rigo fight, it was all about skill. Well, it's time to eat it and accept the losses at lightweight when they come as well. Okay, all great fighters start as the big dude and end their career as the little dude. Floyd Mayweather, Roberto Duran, Manny Pacquiao, you name it. Great fighters win when they're the little guy and when they're the small guy. And that's all I got.
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, D-Style. Seriously. That's a good point.
People take umbrage with that word overrated too. It's just like this, man. If a girl is an 8 and she tells you she's a 10, you're still gonna like her. You're still gonna take her out. I mean, I'd scoop up an 8 in a heartbeat. At this age, at 53, I'll take a 6. But I mean,
I've seen you scoop up 4s.
Yo.
At this stage, I'll do it. You know, I'm like the Cookie Monster here with the women, but that's what you gotta do, man. Like you know. So I just think people look at that word, they hear that word overrated, and they just put a negative connotation on it. I mean, like I said, when he was supposedly the #1 pound for pound guy, and again, I'm not a pound for pound guy, but I always thought Terrence Crawford was a better fighter than him. Just I just thought he could do more. I just thought he was more dominant. I thought Terrence Crawford won when he was the small guy, and he won when he was the big guy. Like D-Style says, you gotta be able to win under all circumstances in any situation. That's part of being great. And I'm not saying Lomanchenko is not great. I would vote him in the Hall of Fame tomorrow if he were to retire. But I just don't think he's as good as people have made him out to be. I think he's beatable. I mean, every fighter's beatable, but he's more beatable than people think. I think he does have a lot of style limitations in terms of certain style matchups. I just don't think he'll win. I think if a guy can box well on the outside and is pretty quick on his feet, he's tall and long. He's gonna give Loma fits. We saw it. We've seen fighters do it, right? We've seen Teofimo Lopez do it, and there's nothing that tells me otherwise that Devin Haney can't do the same thing that Teofimo Lopez, and probably can do it even better, in my opinion.
Yeah, look, a lot of the criticism Loma gets, it's not even from Loma himself. Look, again, I think he's a great fighter. I think he's had a great career. I agree with you, Beep. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer in my book. But the problem is that when like Devin Haney becomes undisputed champion, and then the ring still has a Lomanchenko top 5 pound for pound, but they wouldn't even put Devin Haney in the top 10, then guess what? You got to perform. Like you're going to fight a Jermaine Ortiz, you got to show us, well, why you're the top pound for pound dude and why you're the best lightweight in the world. And he didn't do that. He won the fight. I scored it for him, but he didn't prove he's the best lightweight in the world on Saturday.
No, he didn't. He did. So let's jump right back into Devin Haney here, because Devin Haney entered the ring after the fight, sizing Lomanchenko up. A lot of people have questioned whether or not Devin Haney will take the fight. He's busting out at the seams at lightweight. I know Paulie Malignaggi's been very vocal about Devin Haney probably not taking the fight. I don't know why he's got a bone to pick with Devin Haney, but nevertheless, I mean, he's not the only one. There's already been like a divide on YouTube. You got the Lomanchenko fans and you got the Devin Haney fans, and we all know how tribal boxing is, and they're going back and forth with each other. I think the fight will happen. I think the fight will happen because I think Bob Arum wants it badly. I think ESPN wants it badly. I think Devin Haney and Lomanchenko will both get taken care of financially for this fight, and I do think that this fight will happen. But I want to hear what you guys think. But let me just read the super chat off real quick. Is Lomanchenko overrated? Not much for game planning, or not much for game planning, or in a fight adjustments. Seems like the weak link for Loma. Well, I mean, like I said, I think Loma did, step on the gas late in the fight. I had him winning the last 4 rounds, so I won't be that critical of Loma. But yeah, he did. He does have a tendency to get off to these slow starts, and I think just as in the Teofimo Lopez fight, it came back to bite him in the butt. It could definitely come back to bite him in the butt against Devin Haney, because you're not going to be able to start slow against Devin Haney. Devin Haney's not going to, allow you to creep back up into the fight late. I just don't think it. But Dave, do you think that this Haney fight will happen, or do you think Haney will move up to 140? What do you think?
Well, I definitely paid attention to what Paulie Malignaggi was saying, but I strongly disagree. I think not only was the intent all along by Bob Arum to make this fight, but I think Devin Haney's going to go along with the game plan. There is nothing to fear in fighting Lomanchenko for Devin Haney except the scale. But, we saw something really interesting happen over the last month, and that's Shakur Stevenson, the other huge superstar at Top Rank, intentionally or unintentionally miss weight and give up his belt on the scale and still come out unscathed with virtually no repercussions. There is no incentive for Devin Haney to come in on weight for fight night because his contract is for 3 fights. Okay. And everybody's seen it. He looks emaciated as hell coming in at 135. If his intention is to go up to the 140 division and join Ryan Garcia, Teofimo Lopez, and all the other superstars that are going into 140, there's virtually no reason other than monetarily the fines that he'll pay to come in oversized and have a size advantage, have a reach advantage, have a height advantage, have every advantage in the books against Lomanchenko. And I think it's a fight that he potentially can very easily win in a decision win.
Yeah. Corey, you think Haney sticks around for one more fight, or you think he shoots up to 140?
I got a different take on this one, you guys. I'm gonna come at a different angle about this fight, man. I think that Bob Arum is gonna have a lot to do with this fight. I think that Lomanchenko is still Bob Arum's darling. I feel like Devin Haney's almost like a one-off fight. It's pretty much, you win, you take the belt, you go about your way. Devin Haney's pretty much a free agent after this fight, I believe. And Lomanchenko, Devin Haney has all to lose right now because, he has all the belts that everybody wants. If he loses, to Lomanchenko, he still has unfinished business at 135, which he probably can't even make 135 anymore. I'm not saying he can't, but I'm just saying, like Shushan said, he looks dehydrated as hell. When it's time to weigh in and stuff like that. And, I just really feel like when it comes down to the fight, Lomanchenko versus, Devin Haney, I just think that, Lomanchenko, this is barring that they don't do any weight stipulations like you guys were touching on. I feel like this, if we put weight stipulations on this fight, you could possibly see Lomanchenko have better odds in this fight. I feel like the lower the weight is, the better for Lomanchenko. But when it gets out of hand, like a Salido, I know I'm going to miss weight, like Shusan was saying, and I'm going to come in at, the weigh-in is at 135, but fight night, I'm going to be 155. You know what I mean? You starting to deal with these type of problems, and I just feel like Lomanchenko's already a small guy, but Devin Haney doesn't really have that much power, even at 135. I think he could possibly get a stoppage, man. If we're talking about all of these, weight problems and stuff like that Devin Haney has, if he comes in overweight and everything, and everybody's cool with it, I think he could stop Lomo. But I feel like if Bob Arum looks out for Lomo, which I think he will, I think Lomanchenko has a good shot in this fight.
Yeah. Eric, do you think he'll stick around for one more fight, or do you think he'll go up to 140? Think this fight will happen?
That's a big money fight. Him and Lomachenko is a big money fight for him. He's probably going to get paid a lot of money. Listen, everybody has weight problems until they get that bag, They find out what they're going to make, and they find out it's a couple million or something like that. Yeah, I can make that weight again, no problem. As far as him being ineffective at 135 against Loma, Haney could cut down to 126 and be effective against Loma. Doesn't matter. I don't care what weight you come in. Loma's not going to touch him. Easy money.
Gotcha. What do you think Haney's going to do? You think this fight will happen with Lomanchenko, or do you think he'll move up?
No, the fight's going to happen. The question is it going to happen at 135? I believe it is. I don't think there's going to be any crazy stipulations or nothing like that. I wouldn't put it past anybody, but I think the fight happens. I think the fight happens at 135, and it would have shocked me if Haney has a rematch clause, but I think he's going to win. So I don't think we're going to have to watch it twice. And then after that, although Loma fans are going to say he's too small for the division anyway, he should have stayed at 130, then he'll go to 130.
I'm going to throw a curveball at everybody right now. So say the fight gets signed. What if Devin Haney pulls a Shakur Stevenson and steps on the scale and weighs 138, and the title is only on the line for Lomanchenko, and Devin Haney just says to himself, "Hey, I'll pay the penalty. I'll still make a decent payday. I'm already undisputed anyways. I'm going to move up after this fight. I'm just going to blow the weight." Sort of like what Shakur Stevenson did. Is that possible? Do you guys see that scenario playing out, or do you think I'm reaching here?
Oh, you're reaching. He's never had a problem. I mean, he has weight. He's never come in overweight like that on purpose.
Never has.
Yeah, right. So there's no reason to think that this fight won't take place at 135. There's no reason to think both men won't make the weight.
Gotcha.
And by the way, he's the champ. So, I mean, you're not going to really dictate to the champ, put a weight restriction on him, or anything like that, or like the second day weigh-in type of thing. Listen, they're going to follow the rules, and but I do think the fight gets made.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, one thing is, I'm sure they'll have something in place anyway, because remember the first thing Loma said to Haney as soon as Haney got in the ring, he said, "This is lightweight. It looks like heavyweight." Right. So like they have all that, or like I'm pretty certain if there's probably going to be a penalty where it's not going to be worth it for him.
I mean, we've heard Loma himself say that he's too small for this division. That when he was being interviewed before the TO fight,
it's called softening the blow in case you lose. That's what that's called.
Yeah. I mean, he said it before the TO fight, like, I have trouble with some of these guys because they're bigger than me. It's not as easy, as it was at 130 and 126. So, like,
just to bring up a chick fight. Sorry, Eric. But like Amanda Serrano, what did she do the whole lead up to the Katie Taylor fight? I'm not really a lightweight. I'm a featherweight, but I'm moving up. But I'm not really lightweight though. Well, what's she doing? In case I lose, I could say I'm not really lightweight. I'm actually a featherweight. Right?
That was so aggravating. That really was aggravating, to be honest with you. And then
Jigsaw comes out. Well, she really won, because if it's that close and you're that much smaller, like, look, anybody who watched that fight, Amanda didn't look a lot smaller than Katie Taylor. Okay, they look the same fucking size to me.
I mean, they have the same frames. I don't know. I still think I think Katie won that fight. I mean, I think Katie finished stronger. I think she won.
Because I'm really a featherweight.
Yeah. So let's talk about this interesting interview that Tyson Fury had with True Geordie, because a lot of people are talking about this. And True Geordie asked a lot of questions that, quite frankly, the quote-unquote boxing media, when they interview Tyson Fury, they don't like to ask these questions. They don't like to go at Tyson Fury as hard as True Geordie did. And you saw what happens when you do go at Tyson Fury this hard. He attacks you, becomes very defensive, and doesn't really give you a good excuse or good reasoning to make his point strongly, right? Because this wasn't a good look for Tyson Fury, if I'm being honest. Even if you're a Tyson Fury fan and you hear this interview, you have to say to yourself, wow, Tyson Fury came off looking bad in this interview. So going on the panel real quick, I hope everyone saw this interview, but if you didn't, I can kind of walk you through it. But at the end of this interview, Tyson Fury was telling True Geordie to suck his you-know-what, and he was really going off on him. He was pissed off. He said, you'll never get a interview with me again. So this is what you have to deal with, I guess, if you do this full time, right? That's just, and you have to question, if this is a good career path for anybody. But we'll start with you, Corey. What did you think of Tyson Fury's reaction to True Geordie's questions?
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't see that interview. I did try to look at some of the interview, but I couldn't. I just feel like Tyson Fury, at this point, I just want to see him get in the ring. In my personal opinion, that's in my personal opinion.
Hey, B, what actually did he say that triggered Tyson Fury in that interview? I saw the end of the interview where Tyson was cursing at him, but I didn't bother to go back and watch the rest of it.
Let me kind of recap this for everybody. He kept asking Tyson Fury, why are you fighting Derek Chisora? Can you understand why people aren't excited for this fight? This isn't a knock. He was actually kind of really trying to flatter Tyson Fury, saying this isn't really a knock on you. It's just that you're such a great fighter. We want to see you fight a more challenging opponent. And then Tyson Fury is kind of like attacking him, saying that what's wrong with Derek Chisora? You can't do what Derek Chisora does. The whole thing. Like, I'd like to see you get
Derek Chisora has accomplished more as a boxer than most of you will ever accomplish in your life.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Crazy shit. And then this whole thing about I want to be the only heavyweight in history, heavyweight champion in history to fight 2 trilogies. I'm sorry, you're not, because Muhammad Ali fought 2 trilogies, one with Ken Norton and one with Joe Frazier. So, a lot of things Tyson Fury was saying just didn't make sense, and he really had no strong arguments to support himself. Like, what he probably should have said is, I'm definitely going to fight Usyk next year. This is just a stay busy fight for me or whatever. I'm just trying to stay in the ring or whatever. That's what it is. But I mean, no one's going to be happy about this fight, and he has to understand that. Like, this is a tough sell. J Money says, have you talked about the Spence Oscar beef? I find it ironic since Heyman has stopped black fighters from big paydays on other networks. Yeah, I don't know about the Spence Oscar beef. I'm not aware of that. So I don't know what that's all about. But yeah, so that's
as far as that, like, to touch on that, B, real quick, just to touch on that. I'm gonna be honest. I don't want to see the Derek Chisora fight. If that's what you're asking, I do not want to see that, man. You got to understand, the reporter was probably just doing his job. You know what I mean? He's going to ask him, like, look, nobody wants to see this, because I think I'm speaking for all of us. I mean, who really does want to see Derek Chisora versus Tyson Fury? I thought even Usyk was baffled by it. He was just like, I thought we agreed on fighting, in 2023, and I guess he's, taken by it. But I just feel like I don't even, at this point, Derek Chisora, I guess you could give him a slim 4-round puncher's chance in the first 4 rounds. But other than that, man, I don't see Derek Chisora this ending well. And I think Derek Chisora should have retired a couple fights ago. I'm just being honest with you.
Yeah. This isn't a great fight. I don't think anyone can try to put this off and sell this as a great fight. And I'm curious to see what happens. Like they're saying that they sold like 50,000 tickets already, but a lot of them from the secondary market. I'm just curious to see how many people actually show up and are going to be in the stadium, when the bell rings. I'm just curious about that. But it was just a bad look. Did you get a chance to see it, Dave?
You know what? I didn't get to see the entire thing, but I think you bring up something very important in the sport of boxing, Beeb. For some of us that just do this as a hobby versus people who do it professionally and are considered journalists and who write about it. So this guy, True Geordie, is like, he's kind of like a British version of, of a Howard Stern type, right? He's almost like he can talk about anything. He's not specifically a Joe Rogan of today's, exactly, a Joe Rogan. These are guys that talk about everything. And so for him to come in and having some knowledge of the UK boxing scene and confronting Tyson Fury in a manner that professional sports journalists don't usually do, because, this is something we see common. It's either you fluff the athlete or you ask softball questions, or you risk being blackballed in the industry, right? So I think it was a shock to Tyson Fury, but it showed a little bit of thin skin on his part when confronted. And Eddie Hearn made a good point about the thin-skinned nature of Tyson Fury, not being able to ask him real legitimate and tough questions. And they weren't anything that I don't think someone who had the title of a boxing journalist wouldn't want to ask him why Derek Chisora 3. Exactly. And it was rather nasty, Tyson Fury's response in the interview.
Yeah, and then this whole thing about when fighters are asked certain questions, or particularly Tyson Fury, oh, it's none of my business. It's none of my business. It's none of my business. Yeah, but you open your mouth a lot and talk about things that are none of your business. So all of a sudden, conveniently, when something's none of your business, when you don't want to talk about it, you know what I mean? It's just, and I'm a Tyson Fury fan. Don't get me wrong, but
no way. No
I guess
way.
I guess the one bright spot on this is at least I know that Tyson Fury is going to fight Usyk next year. I believe that. So that kind of softens the blow a little bit for this fight, you know, knowing that at least we're going to get the Usyk fight. I'm pretty confident that fight will happen next year. And, you know, just get this out of the way. This is going to be a foregone conclusion. That just has to be taken care of. But
you already know who's going to win, Beeves. Don't try that shit. Watch that shit. You already know who's gonna win.
Usyk's getting stopped, but
you already know who's gonna win. Usyk's gonna win.
Yeah, this is why, like, a lot of times you see these fighters and even promoters and boxing people in general, they like to have their token interviewer. They have to interview them all the time. They look for their little safe spaces to, you know, where they can go and get interviewed. And this is not even my. I'm not crazy about doing interviews anymore, man. Sometimes because when you have to deal with something like this, I'd rather deal with someone who's not as popular as Tyson Fury. I'd rather talk to a prospect, because at least they'll answer the questions and they'll tell the truth. You know what I mean? They're not going to bullshit you. So yeah, this is just you know, part and parcel for what the boxing media has to be, and if True Geordie luckily does not depend on boxing as his source of revenue, so he can ask these types of questions that no one else can. So shout out to him.
Who is True Geordie? I mean, who is this guy?
He I think
I mean, is he on the radio in England or something like that, or is he just like a YouTube
podcast?
He's a YouTuber podcaster.
He has like 1 million followers and stuff like that.
Like 1 million subscribers. Yeah. He
can kind of get away with asking that because he doesn't really rely on boxing as much as.
Boxing is not his source of revenue.
Gotcha.
He's sort of like Logan Paul and Jake Paul are on YouTube, very similar to them, but the UK version of that, like KSI type. You know.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. He interviews all types of people. He's like Joe Rogan. He has a variety of different guests. He's even interviewed Eddie Hearn before. So yeah, I mean, he's kind of he's not like a boxing guy, but he does follow the sport a little bit. You know, he knows the big guys.
I'll tell you what he is.
I don't have a problem with the questions he asked. I mean, from what you said, I mean, they're everything. I mean, you know, he's heard it before because nobody wants to see a third Chisora fight. I didn't even want to see the first two.
Yeah, I guess the one criticism you could have about the interview was he kind of was pressing about the Chisora fight. Like he kept asking. He kept asking.
Fury.
He did keep asking the same question over and over again, thinking like Fury was going to tell. Like Fury wasn't going to come out and tell him, "Hey, you're right. The fight sucks."
Poor Fury. He kept getting pressed on the question.
After a while, I think that, you know, you got to kind of let the topic go after you keep like pressing it. You know, that was like my one criticism about it. But
you know, Beeb.
Let me. I haven't gone. Let me cook on this really quick. But let me just say this really quick, okay? Poor Fury. He was pressed on a question. Poor guy. Okay, I love the fact that he fucking pressed him. These guys are used to just giving someone a look. You know, like when Tom Brady, they just go like this to him and he gives the ref a look, you know, and then they throw the flag because they're like, you know, Tom Brady looked at me a certain way. Okay. These fighters, like, they give these interviewers a look, and you know what happens to these boxing media dudes? And I feel bad for them. I really do. I feel they start to cower. They start looking like those hyenas with Mufasa and shit. Like they start to cower. Okay, because that's your livelihood. Like he can stop the access like this. Okay, you want access to Tyson Fury? You want those clicks? You want those numbers? You better not ever press me on a fucking question. because that's the look they give them. Tyson Fury told this dude, well, I'm never going to give you an interview ever again, as if this guy gave a fuck. But you know what I will tell you? This guy is a well-known Tyson Fury fan. Okay, he's done videos about Tyson Fury, supporting Tyson Fury, saying one of his dreams was to interview Tyson Fury. Okay, this guy did a live cast of the Fury versus Wilder fight. Okay, supporting Tyson Fury the whole time. So the fact that he was able to tell him to his face, nobody wants to see this fight, and the reason he kept going back to it was because they were having a discussion about the fight. Fury kept giving stupid answers, so he would kind of pick the answer apart and tell him, how does that make sense, Fury? And Fury kept getting irritated, all right? So don't say something stupid, and then Fury tried to do the whole, and you mentioned this, baby, like you don't even know that this is historic, do you? And Gordy's like, what do you mean? Okay, tell me, why is it historic? Because it will be the first time in history that a world heavyweight champion will have 2 trilogies. And then 4 minutes later, when Gordy tells him, I don't think this fight is doing anything for your legacy, he says, I don't give a fuck about legacy. I don't do this for legacy anyway. I do this to make money. Once I retire, I'm not going to give a fuck about the sport, he said. He doesn't give a fuck about legacy. So that's an example of a follow-up. So then he asked him, well, you just told me you cared about legacy. Now you're saying you don't care about legacy. So, like, the things Fury was saying was leading to the pressing, right? And Fury got fed up and said, I'm going to end this interview. And then he didn't know how to turn off his phone, which was hilarious. And that's that. And this guy did something that a lot of reporters, especially in boxing, don't have the balls to do. Okay? They will ask him one time, and you know what they'll do, babe? Hey, guys, they won't even take ownership of it. They'll say, like, Fury, people are saying that this fight's not any good.
I hate when they do that. I hate when they do that.
Just saying. What's my thought?
I remember one of my first interviews I ever did when I interviewed Bernard Hopkins. I specifically said to him, a lot of people will ask a question. They'll say, a lot of people say this, a lot of people say that, but I'm going to own this question. Roy Jones is 5-5 in his last 10 fights. Why are you fighting him in a rematch? I basically said it like that. Came out and said it. I didn't say a lot of people say. I'm saying it. You know what I mean? And I agree. I mean, I can see your side of the argument. The follow-ups or whatever. Because Tyson Fury was kind of contradicting himself. Because if you don't care about legacy, then why are you going to mention you're going to be the first heavyweight in history to fight in 2 trilogies? That's a legacy statement, right? That's a statement that would speak to your legacy, right? So, I guess. If Tyson Fury is going to contradict himself, then yeah, he's going to question the contradictions, and you can argue that some of them were follow-ups. I myself, I was just like, you're not going to. I just said to myself, he's just not going to answer the question. He's not going to give you. My thing was this: he's not going to give you an intelligent answer to justify why this fight is going to happen. So that's why I would have just said I would have given up on him. Because all he was going to continue to do was contradict himself and make up some bullshit excuse. So how many times are you going to listen to a bullshit excuse that's coming out of his mouth? That's my argument about it. That's my argument about it. I'm not saying that you can't ask follow-ups, but at some point you got to say to yourself, this isn't going anywhere. You see what I'm saying? That's just my opinion.
I think we need more reporters to press fighters this way, press promoters this way, because the more they do it, it's going to be better for the sport. If they know it's going to be negative backlash, it's just my opinion. But with that said, and people in his position that don't need boxing and doing it for boxing, I think it's a good thing ultimately. I'm not saying the interview was perfect, but one more thing, Fury just had to throw in there, and he's been doing this a lot. I don't know if you guys have caught it. And I've been saying we're going to see that 4th Wilder fight because he keeps throwing out there, people will still watch me fight Wilder again. So I'm just saying.
I think he's wrong on that one too. I don't think many people want to see a 4th Wilder fight. Not after those last 2 decisive victories that he had.
I don't know, Beebs. There's a lot. There's people out there that want to see that 4th fight, man. I'm being honest with you. I'm not saying
3 straight times.
I'm not saying that I'm one of them, but I'm just saying
You'll buy it, Corey.
I bought worse. Let's put it like that. Yeah, let's put it like that, Beebs. I bought a lot worse.
Well, I have a setting on my remote.
And you'll buy it too. Beeves?
I have a setting on my remote
There you
that
were.
automatically just buys the pay-per-view. I don't even have to order them anymore. I just have a setting. I just set it to automatic purchase.
Hey, come
And
on.
I just buy every boxing pay-per-view. It's great, man. You got to shout out to Comcast for adding that feature.
Hey, did you also buy the bare knuckle fights, like the Malignaggi one and all that?
Of course I did.
I actually bought that one too.
Pass that one up.
I was going to buy the Jones and who was he? Bobby Gunn. I was going to buy that fight, but it wasn't offered on DirecTV. I know B bought it. I ended up seeing it, but
I'm buying Gorgeous Lady of Wrestling pay-per-views right now, man. I'm buying
those
them
are
all.
really good, though. Those are really good, though.
I buy every pay-per-view, man. Are you kidding me?
Oh, man.
So let's get to the big one this week. We finally got a good fight coming up this week. Dmitry Bivol versus Gilberto Zerdo Ramirez here. Let's do the predictions. Let's go around. Who do you guys like in this big one right here? I know Bivol seems to be the favorite here, but there are some people like myself and Eric Loda who are going with Ramirez. But Eric, why Ramirez?
He's bigger. He's stronger. I think he's going to be able to just impose his will on him. I don't think Bivol is going to be able to do much against him. I'll be honest, man. He might win early rounds. The body attack from Zerdo is gonna do him in. I'm telling you, he's not ready for this. I told you beforehand, and I've been saying it for a long time now, that Ramirez is the best guy in that division. I really believe he is the best guy in that division. That division is stacked, and he's the best guy there. And I think he beats Bivol. Yep.
Corey, you shaking your head?
Easy work, Corey.
Hey, Eric, what
Easy work,
Oh, I
son.
can't wait.
You're facing frustration. You have an incredulous look on your face.
I would bet Corey, but he doesn't pay up. You guys know how that is.
Got to send the leg breakers down.
Oh,
I had
man.
to send my hit squad down there, you know?
The leg breakers down, down his neck of the woods,
Oh, man.
to the DMV area.
So yeah, man. So man, this fight, Dmitry Bivol versus Gilberto Ramirez, it's a really good fight. But it's officially for second place. You know what I'm saying? We all know Archer Beterbiev is the champion in this division, the real champion, and the unified champion in this division. And he's waiting for the winner. You know, I think the fight will be easier made if Dmitry Bivol wins, because I feel like DAZN, both fighters are pretty much with DAZN anyway. So, but as far as the fight goes, I just feel Dmitry Bivol will try to box him like he does Canelo, but I just feel like, you know, Gilberto Ramirez is a little bit too big for that, so he won't be able to boss him around like he did Canelo Alvarez. I feel like Dmitry Bivol did what he wanted with Canelo Alvarez. He's not going to be able to do that with Gilberto Ramirez. Gilberto Ramirez is a more taller, rangier, and bigger fighter. You know what I mean? He's got a longer reach. He's heavier than Canelo, and he's younger than Canelo, and he's undefeated. You know, something that Canelo hasn't been in years. You know, a fighter that is undefeated, especially when you're over 40-0, depending on, you know, a lot of people say that he hasn't fought, you know, the big guys, and he hasn't fought, you know, this person, and he hasn't fought that person. Look who his fucking promoter is. I mean, his promoter's Oscar De La Hoya. Who the fuck did you think he was going to fight? I mean, let's be honest. Let's all be serious right now. Let's call a spade a spade. Who do we think that Gilberto Ramirez was going to fight when his promoter was Oscar De La Hoya? I mean, let's be honest, man. So this fight is by the grace of God. It got made. I don't know how it got made, but it got made.
Mandatory.
And we all get a treat. You know, we all get a treat. And, you know, I'm favoring Gilberto Ramirez in this one. I'm going to go out on a limb. And, you know, I think I'm favoring Gilberto Ramirez in this just because of the range. I think the reach, I think that'll play a factor. And mind you, David Benavidez, a hard puncher himself, says Gilberto Ramirez can crack. You know what I'm saying? Can crack. So you guys got to understand that he's long, rangy, and can crack. Now the thing that the only thing that I'm worried about is, can he take what he's dishing out? Okay, because I've seen him stunned in a couple fights. So I want to see if Gilberto Ramirez's chin at 175 is as strong as he was at 168. I'm favoring Gilberto Ramirez. UD.
So you shake your head at Eric just to pick Zurdo in the head? What's going on?
I
shake my head at Eric because he said that Gilberto Ramirez was the best light heavyweight. That is so far from the truth. That is so far from the truth. Artur Beterbiev is the best light heavyweight. And I stand on that.
I love one of the comments said Corey's going to make his pick on Sunday morning.
Hey, man, I just can't wait till these guys fight Artur Beterbiev, man. That's all I'm going to say, man.
He's watching Beterbiev, too.
You're gonna call bet us online and just say that you bet on, like, whoever wins. You're gonna say you bet on them and said just say your internet went down and you just couldn't place it. Is that what you're gonna do? We can try to finagle a bagel there. Is that what you're gonna do?
Man, I probably ain't gonna. I'm not gonna bet on this fight, Beebs. I'm not even gonna bet on this fight.
Joe Beep tactics.
I'm not gonna touch this one. I'm gonna let you touch this one, Beebs. Right. Beebs Industries.
Okay, Dave, what do you think, man?
Excellent fight. I'm excited. I'm so excited for this fight. It's going to be the best light heavyweight fight of the year.
Make the right choice, Dave. Come on.
Yeah, we've had some good ones this year. Listen, Zurdo Ramirez came in at 204 pounds at his last fight. He rehydrated to 204. He's a tremendously big fighter for the light heavyweight division. What Bivol did against Canelo is not going to happen here. Okay, the key for Zurdo Ramirez is going to be to neutralize Bivol's jab, because once Bivol gets going and he's in rhythm, man, he's fantastic. This is going to be an incredibly close fight. It can literally go either way, but I think Zurdo Ramirez being the southpaw and Bivol not fighting a southpaw since 2017, I think his incredible game on the inside. Guys, Zurdo Ramirez can hit you from angles. He can move his feet. Yes, he's slow. I know people in the chat are saying he's slow, but timing beats speed. And so Zurdo Ramirez is going to time him and win this fight. He's not going to give Bivol the opportunity to get in rhythm, to land the jab at will. He's going to come in on the inside and use that big size to hurt Bivol. We saw Joe Smith Jr. rock Bivol. This guy might possibly get a stoppage, but most likely I'm going to say that it's going to be a decision win for Zurdo. And look out for that uppercut to land, man. That uppercut is going to be a big tool for Ramirez on Saturday.
Got you. D-Style, I already know where you're going with it, but tell me why.
Well, look, I get it. If Zurdo were to win this fight, it'll make a good movie. I mean, like Tinseltown would love that movie. What a great movie that would be. You know what I mean? Zurdo. They could just call it that. You know what I mean? And then he beats this amazing Russian fighter at the end of the movie. It'll be a good movie, but this isn't a movie, right? Zurdo Ramirez is too slow. Okay, Zurdo Ramirez, right, is a little too heavy, and I'll explain what I mean by that, for Bivol in this fight. Yes, he's big. Yes, he's strong, but that's how people are giving me, that he's big and he's strong and like, okay, cool. But I haven't heard anybody say he's better, he's more skilled than Bivol. I haven't heard anybody say that. Like, nobody even wants to whisper that. Twinkle Toes is going to razzle dazzle around that ring against Bivol. It's going to look slow motion to him. All right? 10-2. 10-2, and if Ramirez wins more than 2 rounds, my prediction is wrong. Simple as that. I'll say it again. 10-2 Bivol, and if this dude wins more than 2 rounds, you can say, D-Style, your prediction was wrong. He's going to outbox this dude. He's going to be out. He's going to keep him at bay. He's going to slip those punches. He's going to counter the shit out of him. Ramirez is going to start to second guess himself. Right, Bivol's going to stay on the inside against this guy. He's going to turn him. He's going to turn him all night. All right, his feet are too slow for Bivol. All right, he's going to get countered. Best weapon against the southpaw, against a Zurdo. a right hand. This dude has one of the best right hands in boxing. He's got a great jab. He's going to razzle. He's going to dazzle, twinkle toes, baby. The Russian twinkle toes. How do you say twinkle toes in Russian? I don't know, but that's what this guy is, okay? I am amazed that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 dudes on this panel, maybe 5, I don't know, that are picking Zurdo with confidence to win. I cannot believe this. Zurdo Ramirez is going to get outboxed. He's going to get embarrassed. If he's lucky, he wins 2 rounds, 10-2. If he wins more than 2, D-style, you're wrong. Okay, you could take that to the bank. All right, Zurdo Ramirez is undervalued. We know that. Why? Because everybody here picked him to beat Canelo, right? Including myself. We were all wrong. All right. Zurdo Ramirez is just too slow for Bivol. Too slow. Sorry. He's going to rattle dazzle, twinkle toes, work around him, the whole 9. I think the right hand's going to give Zurdo Ramirez all types of problems. And here's where the weight comes in. Yes, I know he's bigger and all that, but weight could work against you in the second half of a fight. People are expecting Ramirez to take over in the second half. I disagree. I think carrying all that extra weight, trying to catch up to the much faster, more elusive, quicker, more skilled Bivol is going to tire this guy out. Okay, he's going to look like a zombie in the second half of this fight. All right, I have Bivol winning this fight 10-2.
Base, what's going on, brother? Welcome.
What's happening? I walked into a shitstorm. What's going on?
So what do we got here, man? Dmitry Bivol-Gilberto Ramirez. Who wins and why?
Right. Well, I can't officially say just yet. I normally have to wait until after weigh and see how both people look on scales. That's normally my process. And obviously there's a video that has to come out. So, giving that away, not really smart on my part. What I will say is the whole thing, momentum, experience, everything does seem to lean towards Bivol at this point. If you look at the caliber of opponents, overall, he does seem to have the better caliber of opponent, especially at 175. But just career-wise, he's fought people that resemble what Ramirez is, except for maybe the body punching. But that being said, I mean, Canelo's a very big body puncher, and Bivol seemed to handle that fairly well. So yeah, I mean, all signs would lead to Bivol being the more comprehensive person of the two. But yeah, just gotta wait and see.
Gotcha. Well, I'm gonna be that guy to kind of talk about. I'm going to talk about Ramirez's skill because I think his skill is very underrated. All I keep hearing about is how slow he is, but he's still touching guys. He's still hitting guys. He's still catching up to guys. And maybe he's not as quick as Bivol. Bivol does not use a lot of foot movement. He uses a lot of subtle foot movement. It's not like he uses a lot of the ring. So he'll try to kind of step around you and turn you. But when you got a guy who's as long and tall as a Ramirez, who really has a great jab, right? He does really know how to get that jab going. He knows how to move that jab around. He knows how to kind of throw that feint sometimes before he lets that jab go off. He throws that jab at a lot of different speeds. And as I think Eric mentioned this, it's timing, right? So he knows how and when to place his punches properly, right? And he does switch up the variety of punches too. He's not a pattern guy. He's not a predictable guy. He does vary up his shots, and as I said, he places them very well. Unlike Canelo, I felt like he just tried to barrel his way in and did not use a jab. And Canelo has credit to Canelo against Golovkin. I thought he did bring the jab back for that fight, but for a while there, he was getting away from it. Gilberto Ramirez will not get away from it. He'll throw that long jab from the outside to work his way in, and when he does get inside, he's a very fluid combination puncher. He knows how to shorten up his shots. He knows how to kind of sneak that uppercut through the guard, right? And I think he's got a great right hook as well. He can hook off that jab. And Bivol does like to lie on the ropes a little bit. And I just think because of the size of Ramirez, I think Ramirez will kind of muscle him and body him a little bit, and he'll nudge him and break Bivol's rhythm a little bit. He'll try to make him uncomfortable, right? He'll get a little physical with him, and he'll lean on him a little bit when Bivol likes to go to the ropes, because Bivol does go to the ropes a lot. He does try to set traps, and I think that if he does that against Ramirez, I think the pressure of Ramirez and the body work of Ramirez and just the physicality of Ramirez, I think he can make it uncomfortable. But there's an argument that again that Bivol could outmaneuver Ramirez, he could step around him, he could turn him. But there's also an argument that pressure after a while could slow Bivol down. The body shots could slow Bivol down, right? Because he's not going to – I don't believe Ramirez is just going to try to throw shots to Bivol's arms. I think he's going to try to land those vital punches. He's going to try to hit him in the vital areas. So to me, this is a very intriguing fight. I do think Ramirez will win this fight. I do. And I think he could possibly win this by late stoppage. I think he could wear Bivol down. I really do.
What?
I think he could wear him down. Possibility.
Oh man, you should go to the comedy strip, brother.
Possibility. It's a possibility.
Definitely a possibility, Beeves.
It's a possibility.
Yeah, I could walk outside and 20 could fall on my head too. I mean, I guess things are possible, but not very probable.
Well, we'll see. I mean, that's why they fight the fights. All we're doing right now is guessing anyways, right?
Yeah, we've talked a lot today. We've talked a lot about underrated and overrated. Beeb, I'm going to agree with you that he is underrated, his IQ, and Zurdo Ramirez is definitely underrated with his ring IQ.
Yeah, this whole thing that he's just this big lummox in there, I'm not saying it. Maybe I am a comedian. Maybe this is amateur night at the Apollo. Oh, all right then. I'll be that guy if you want.
By the way, let me just say this though. Look, Central and Sun just said these styles acting like Zurdo's a bum. No, I'm not. Zurdo's a really good fighter. He has a really good jab. He's solid. He's a top 5, maybe even a top 3 light heavyweight in the world. I'm not shitting on him. I'm just very high on Bivol. Like I just think Bivol's that good.
You got to understand something. Bivol did beat D-Styles Hero. So, I mean, obviously he's going to switch. He's got to switch sides now. Calix, I mean, talk to me, brother. What am I missing here?
What are you missing? Well, Beeb, guess what?
Apollo, hosted by Beeb.
Wait a minute. I don't even know where Calix is going with this, so let me brace myself.
Bring some semblance to this.
No, Beeb. Look, I know you're a numbers guy, so I'm going to hit you with the numbers. Do you know how many CompuBox stats that Dmitry Bivol is top 10 in? 11. He's top 10 in 11 statistical categories. 11. Okay. All right. 11. If you go back and watch the Canelo fight, and the thing about his stats is if you look at him fight per fight, they're consistent. When he's fighting Canelo, when he's fighting average opposition, when he's fighting below average opposition. So what does that tell you? It tells us that he fights down to his level of competition, but he also fights up to his level of competition. He's not going to have a night off. He's just not. He's a consistent fighter. And I'm going to hit you with this stat, Beeb. This is a crazy one. It's one of the craziest I've seen in boxing. This guy hasn't been outlanded in a round in almost 5 years. Almost 5 years, he hasn't been outlanded in a single round. He's outlanded his opposition for almost 5 years straight, Beeb. That's dominance. And it's dominance for several reasons. It's the versatility of him. Go back and watch the Canelo fight. He's leading when he needs to lead. He's fighting on the back foot when he needs to fight on the back foot. When he needs to take breaks, what does he do? He goes up in the shell and picks everything off. He's statistically the number one defensive fighter in the sport, barely beating out Shakur Stevenson. Bivol and Shakur Stevenson are by far the 2 best statistical defensive fighters in the sport. And they're doing it against good level of opposition. It's not like they're fighting bums. And these stats stayed the same against Canelo. And one thing I would agree with you on is I do think, like stylistically, I do think that Zurdo, this is what my instincts tell me, Zurdo, in hindsight, because I thought Canelo was going to beat Bivol, and I was wrong. But in hindsight, I think this is a tougher matchup for Bivol stylistically than the Canelo fight was. The size, you can see the size difference. He's not going to be able to just be out there pumping his jab, but he's not an economical fighter. He throws 65 punches per round. A high level of those are jabs. He controls the distance. He doesn't just sit on the ropes. He sits on the ropes and takes breaks every once in a while, but he's going to spin off. He's got lateral movement as well. This guy is a gazelle. He's a gazelle. He has great movement.
Not like Fury. Not like Furious.
Beav, I think we're looking at the most versatile fighter in the sport of boxing.
He's a cheetah. You know, like the cheetah, you know, the fastest animal in the wild. That's what he is.
And by the way, yes, the KO percentage is lower. It's just because he doesn't take as many chances. He will keep you honest with the right hand. So he's very economical with his power shots. That's true. But as we saw in the Canelo fight, when he wants to back you up, he's going to back you up. So this is an interesting fight. I like the fight. Obviously, Zurdo is no slouch, but Bivol's a different breed. So I like it like 9-3, something like that. Zurdo will have his moments. Zurdo's going to break that streak, by the way. He's going to have a round or two, maybe 3, where he outlands Bivol. But
I'll give him that credit, too.
Bivol, man.
This is the odds for the fight right now.
I'm not making that mistake again. I'm not picking up against Bivol again.
Here's the odds right now. Gilberto Ramirez is a plus 250. Dmitry Bivol is a minus 325.
Close.
That's fairly close. Those fairly close odds.
Yeah.
It's a 3-1 fight for Bivol, basically.
That's respect for Zurdo. That's respect.
So you sure you don't want to hedge a little money on Zurdo with the KO prop?
I'm not throwing away money. I like
He's going to be on the back foot all night.
Let me quote Malignaggi. Like Malignaggi said, these Eastern Europeans and mentally they're at a different level. You know what I mean? In this fight, I agree with him.
Dmitry Bivol by decision at minus 180. I'm telling people jump on that easy money. Minus 180, Dmitry Bivol by decision. Hop on it. I'm hopping on it right now because I'm just seeing that. The prop bets just came out. Dmitry Bivol by minus 180 is easy money.
You sure, Alex?
What's that?
You sure?
Oh, yeah. Easy money.
All right, man.
Just take the money you were going to bet on the fight and mail it to me because you're going to lose that one, you know?
Oh. so this is kind of funny, man, because we got the 3-1 favorite, and we have Base is we're going to take him out of the equation because he's hasn't made a pick yet. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 people here, and it's actually 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, but Base needs to realize that like Bivol's going to look lean.
We have 6 people here. It's 4-2 favoring Gilberto Ramirez.
Wow.
It doesn't matter. Like Bivol performs better when he's an underdog.
But I do want to say, Beebs, the 2 people that are picking Beebs.
Let's get a poll going.
The 2 people that are picking Bivol they're really sure about Bivol. Like, you know what I mean? Like Calix and D Style, they're really sure about Bivol. Like they're really sure about this. You know what I'm saying?
How many times D Style's been really sure about something in his life, and
they're looking confident, man. I mean,
very rare. I'll say that.
D Style wakes up in the morning feeling really sure about a lot of things. It doesn't mean they all come true.
He had it 10-2 for Bivol.
10-2.
Yeah. He's picking 10-2.
I know I instill fear in Corey Lee when I said 10-2. Oh shit, this was really like he's confident. What's going on right now?
Yeah.
He's thinking about it. You know what I mean?
Are you gonna put your money where your mouth is, though? That's the question.
I'm gonna put money on that bet that Calix suggested.
You should. I just put 150 on it, and D Style. I'm telling you.
See, look, B. See,
I'm not gonna go the Dwyer route. I'm not even gonna go there. I'm just telling you. You should put the money down. You're hearing
all of Dwyer's straddles, like either you break even or you lose money. So I don't get it. But that's
fighter A buying to win, fighter B by knockout. That's his like friggin' straddle. He's got every fight he straddles the same. I'm going to pick fighter A to win, fighter B with the knockout proposition.
I really don't think it's going to be close. I think Zerto's good.
Zerto's
a good. I like Zerto. He's a really good fighter. He's on the countdown to 50-0.
Alex, I agree with you. I don't think this fight's going to be close. I think
Ramirez.
Well, I see what I'm saying.
I think Ramirez is going to
one-sided, man.
I think he's going to eat him for lunch. I'm going to light a candle for Bivol. I'm going to light a candle for Bivol the night before the fight, man.
You're confusing him with Andy. He's not fighting Andy Ruiz. He's fighting Bivol.
I'm a little worried about Bivol.
You're thinking of the wrong Mexican. He's fighting Jordan, not Andy Ruiz. All right,
I'm going to light a candle and I'm going to say a prayer for him. And guess what? I'm not even religious, but I'm going to be religious the night before the fight for this guy. All right.
You know, he's plus 18.1. Plus 18.1 punches per round, Beeb. He's dominating these rounds.
With all due respect, I think you're overthinking this. I think you're overthinking this with the numbers.
I don't know. 12%, Beeb. I'll give you another number. 12% of power punches land against him. 12.
Man, it's gonna be like half of that was
1 in 10 power punches land against him. Canelo didn't have success landing against him. He just didn't. He made it look easy. And not only did he make it look easy, he was dismissive of it after the fight. He said, I don't really need a rematch. Bring on better Biev.
Man, this is going to be a good fight, man. I cannot wait.
Let me tell you something. Just one more thing. I just want to say one more thing. This is a good tune-up, a good preparation for Bivol before his fight with Better Beef, because he will be the undisputed champion in light heavyweight division when he defeats Better Beef. This guy, he will get people to believe that.
Come on,
he best believe that.
Come on,
D-Style called Zerto a tune-up. Wow. That's confidence.
Again, D-Style is very confident about a lot of things. You can't knock a guy for having confidence, right?
In the Bible, it says there are 4 corners of the earth. I want everyone to go to all 4 corners of the earth, and you let them know Bivol's going to razzle dazzle and beat the fuck out of Bivol come Saturday night. I guarantee that.
I agree. He's going to beat Bivol.
I'm sorry. Bivol's going to beat Zerto. My bad.
There you go.
Shout out to Sal Alvarez.
Good catch, Eric.
It slipped a little bit.
Shout out to Sal Alvarez. He says, I like how Beeb admits we're only guessing. Well, again, until we put professional gamblers on our W-2s at the end of the year,
right?
Yes, we're only guessing.
If we weren't guessing, we would all just quit our day jobs, just bet on all the fights, right?
H&R Block at the end of the year when you're filing your taxes, and the guy asks, "What's your profession?" Hey, I'm a professional gambler. Well,
but that's Bivol what his profession is.
What do you bet on, sir? I bet on boxing matches, and I make a good living at it. So we can all say that, then we're guessing.
Hey, by the way, speaking of profession, ask Bivol what his profession is. You know what he said? Who? He said something like that. Go ahead.
I'm going to leave that one alone because I can't figure it out. But
all right, 300. You never seen 300? All
right. Please. All right. So let's get to the next topic here. I was very impressed with William Zepeda over the weekend. I think a lot of people were. D-Style, we're not going to toot our own horns, but you and I kind of predicted that this would be a one-sided fight.
I was pretty confident about it.
Yeah, I think the rest of the panel last week, they were saying that this was a 50-50 fight. And I think we were the only two that actually picked Zepeda, right? The rest of the panel, Jo Jo Diaz. So the big question I have for the panel here is William Zepeda the real deal? Is he going to be a player in this division? How does he match up with the top guys in the division based off of this fight against Jo Jo Diaz? Because he's looked good for a while. This was supposed to be a test, and I didn't think it was, and it ended up not being a test. So we'll start with you, Corey. Is Zepeda the real deal? Is he going to be a player at lightweight? What do you think?
I'm so glad that I can show receipts for this shit, man. I picked Zepeda for a KO 11th round. I'm in champ roster.
Hey, you were wrong.
That's Photoshop.
I mean,
That's
I was wrong. I was wrong on the
That's
KO. I was wrong on the KO,
That's
but
Photoshops.
that's how much confidence I had in Zepeda winning. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
That's-
man.
That's
You
Adobe.
picked him on Sunday morning.
That's Adobe. But go ahead. All right, send that to me. I want to inspect it to see if it's authentic. But go ahead.
Clearly
Alright.
photoshopped.
That's
All right,
Photoshop.
I'm sending it to Beeves now. But yeah, I don't know. I just think Zepeda's a better fighter. I think that I think Jo Jo Diaz is definitely on the skid. I think to be honest with you, I don't even think he should be in that weight division. He was a very good fighter. Not even a very good fighter. He was a good fighter at best. When he was at 126, or I think it was at one. He's at what, 130?
You're right,
135.
He was a world champion at 126.
Yeah.
126. All right, that's when I interviewed him. Okay, I interviewed him at the MGM Grand, and he fought Gary Russell Jr. And he was having weight problems for that fight. And that's when I thought that he was the best Jo Jo Diaz, at 126. I think the 130-pound Jo Jo Diaz wasn't the same. I feel like the pop wasn't the same. The respect level that these fighters have for his power when they get in the ring, I feel like that wasn't there. He's more of a rock'em sock'em guy with not as much defense. And I just think that Jo Jo Diaz, I know he can't make 126 anymore, but maybe it's time for him to change trainers and switch it up a little bit, man. I've been feeling like Jo Jo Diaz has been on the skid the last couple fights, and he hasn't had a notable win in a while, in years. And I just think that he's not a journeyman. He's not he's not a journeyman type fighter. Like, he's not gonna be the B side for the rest of his career. He might be an A side for it, depending on what kind of fight he has coming up. But as far as Jo Jo Diaz goes, I just think that as at the top level, he's not gonna get it done. Period. And Zepeda can possibly get it done, but we'll see. I think he should be up there with definitely the top 5. And with this win, it really didn't show me much. I already knew that about Jo Jo Diaz.
Alex, you want to talk about numbers?
Yes.
Look at the 1,500 punches this man threw on Saturday. What did you think? That's
what I was pointing out after the fight. If you look at CompuBox, he broke it. He broke CompuBox, literally. 1,500. I believe it was the exact number was somewhere around 1,560, a little north of 1,560. He had a round where he threw 151 punches. So in order to throw, there are 180 seconds in a round. So you're throwing almost a punch per second. So this guy is a hidden gem. And that's the thing. Like, we can talk about where his ceiling is. And this is a good win because Jo Jo Diaz is like I feel like he's a perfect gauge opponent, like a barometer at 135. And he came in and he dominated, and he did it in entertaining fashion. And that's my point is, and D-Style and I have talked about this in the past, there are certain fighters, it doesn't matter if they lose, you're still going to tune in. And he's one of those hidden gems. And that's what I'm saying as far as Zepeda. People are like, where is he going to go here from 135? To me, you just keep him busy. Get him back in the ring, January, February. Just keep him busy right now. That's the main objective. Keep him in people's faces for the time being. Let him continue to throw 100 punches per round, mow guys down, get people more interested, because it was frustrating watching Saturday. People talk about Jake Paul. People talk about they think Lomanchenko is overrated, stuff like this. The narrative's coming out, Spence, Crawford, Tank, and Ryan, and they're missing a hidden gem right here, which is William Zepeda. This guy is a gem in boxing. And whether he wins or I don't care if he loses 5 fights, I'm tuning in. It doesn't matter to me. So I'm not exactly sure where his ceiling is going to be, but I'll tell you what, he seems to have a chin, and a guy with a chin throwing 100 punches per round. Good luck. Good luck.
Well, let me ask you this question real quick, Alex. So you said that the CompuBox, he broke the CompuBox, right? So the guys doing the clickers, they were using them so much that the clickers broke. Well, they have to start doing so they had to start using their fingers. They had to start like writing the punches down on paper. What happened when they?
It was like one of those. Remember where Mayweather had the guy at the gym and he just his thumb hurts after. That's what this guy's thumb was hurting after the fight. He's like, damn, can the Mexican murder hornet please stop throwing punches? That's what he was saying. Click,
That's
click,
crazy.
click, click, click. But this guy, that's why I came up with that nickname for him. This guy is a murder hornet. Sting, 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 sting without losing your stinger. He's just going to keep coming at you. And like I said, man, good luck. You're going to be in a fight. You're going to be in a fight, and you have to have a chin. You have to be durable. You have to have lateral movement to turn this guy because it's going to be tough. He's definitely in the mix now. And if he's going to stay at 135, which it looks like he is, because this was a catchweight fight. Not a lot of people caught that. This was a catchweight fight between 135 and 140. If he's going to stay at 135, the picture looked good for him in the future because Tank and Ryan are moving out. Devin's going to be moving out soon. Lomachenko's on the back end of his career. He's going to fit in nicely there.
Got you. D-Style, I mean, like I said earlier, we both picked him to win. We thought he would dominate. But were you even more impressed with his performance on Saturday? Did he exceed your expectations a little bit?
Look, I was actually impressed with JoJo. Like, I didn't think JoJo was going to withstand that assault for 12 fucking rounds. And he stood there. And you know what? JoJo had his moments. There was that one, he caught, like, Zepeda a couple times. And now, granted, Zepeda is like this one gear. Like, he doesn't know how to make it. Like, at least I haven't seen him make an adjustment. He just goes back to doing what he's doing. But he did hurt Zepeda. Zepeda just went back to just beating him up some more, you know. But JoJo is a really good counter puncher, though. Like, not a lot of guys could counter at that level. And like he had people forget JoJo had a good showing against Devin Haney. I think JoJo did better against Devin Haney than George Kambosos did. Right? He didn't bloody up JoJo that way. He didn't like Haney didn't embarrass JoJo. Like, he outboxed him, but he didn't embarrass him that way. So JoJo's a really good, you know, counter punches, a good boxer, was a standout, you know, Olympian, or amateur, I should say, went to the Olympics. His only losses at that point were to two boxers, pure boxers, and Gary Russell and Devin Haney. So Zepeda had to go out there and he had to beat him in his own way. And he did. He didn't go out there and outbox him. He went out there and overwhelmed him. Over 1,500 punches thrown. I was texting a friend during this. She's a female fighter. I was texting a friend while I was watching this fight because she was watching it as well. And she said, I throw like not even half of that with no one like hitting mitts, like no one throwing punches at me, and I'm gassed. And one thing that was pointed out to me, how this dude was conducting an interview like it was nothing after the fight. He wasn't breathing hard. Zepeda goes to his court at the round 12 and it's like, sí, hice bien, no. Estaba bien la pelea. Like, I'm like, well, where's the breathing? Why isn't this dude huffing and puffing? He just threw 1,500 punches with a live fighter throwing punches back at him. That's telling me he could throw more. William Zepeda could possibly throw 2,000 punches in a fight. That sounds amazing. And if he fights someone who has nowhere near the counter-punching ability, look, the better the counter-puncher's output's going to go down, like period, right? But, man, let me tell you something, man. Somebody, please give me William Zepeda versus Isaac Cruz. Give me that fight. I want to see that fight. Okay, that's a Fight of the Year candidate. I think William Zepeda wins that fight. I want to see it. And I agree with Calix. He's going to have losses in his record. Right, he is, but he's always going to be someone who can pull off a victory against anybody, you know, because that is a lot to deal with. That's a lot of punches to deal with. There's a lot of volume to deal with, and another thing about JoJo, I don't even think JoJo's ever been knocked down. So like the dude's got a chin on him. So I don't think a lot of guys are going to withstand that. And I never seen JoJo's face like that. JoJo's face was fucked up in this fight. So. That's that. So I liked it. Good performance. I want to see him definitely get a shot at some point. We all know Haney's going to move up at some point, and the bouts are going to spread out. So,
yeah. So it's pretty safe to say with this guy's activity, the CompuBucks guys are going to have to bring some backup clickers next time they do his fight, right?
Yeah.
Because this guy's off the charts when it comes to the volume, right?
Jesus Christ, bro.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Amazing. Dave, what were your thoughts, man?
Hey, I've been high on William Zepeda for a long time, right on this show here, the Roundtable. But recently he had some kind of shitty performances. In fact, he tasted the canvas against an relatively unknown Mexican fighter. So let's point that out. But when it came time to be the main event, man, did he shine! A record-breaking performance. The grand takeaway for me this Saturday night is as all these guys at 135 are moving up to 140. This may be Devin Haney's last fight against Lomanchenko. Shakur Stevens is entering 135. This Saturday night, we saw two guys that are potential future stars in the lightweight division. Top 5 contend. You can make the argument now these guys are top 5 contenders at the lightweight division and will be fantastic opponents. Should Shakur Stevenson someday be the future undisputed champion, they'd be fantastic opponents for Lomanchenko. They're just going to be great guys. My only concern for Zepeda is with Oscar's track record. How's he going to get him fights when most of the top players are at Top Rank and PBC? What are we going to do with Zepeda? Is he going to be forced to move up to 140? Who does he fight here on? I think Alex made a great point. Just keep him busy. And, he's totally capable of being a main event type fighter. Great performance. Thanks, guys. By the way, I got to bounce. Thanks for having me. Check me out Monday nights on YouTube late 7:30 Pacific Standard Time.
Hey,
appreciate you guys, man.
time,
Everyone
man.
have a great one. Thank you, man.
Peace out, man.
Base, did you get a chance to check this out? What did you think of Zepeda?
Oh yeah, I watched that card. It was extremely fun. Look, real short and sweet. Yeah, I think Zepeda's the real deal. I don't know. I wouldn't say he's like the best or even maybe top. He's probably scraping the top 5. I mean, he's in and around it, and he's in the mix. He'll definitely win titles when they fragment. I don't know if he's got the skills to beat Haney because he's not a slick southpaw. He's very much a southpaw that does get hit, can get hit, especially with a jab if you like if you've got that in your locker. But yeah, I totally think he's in and amongst it. And yeah, when it comes to potentially I wouldn't necessarily dominate him, but enough of the guys are gonna move out. He'll definitely have his lane. And as everyone said, like, he's a long night's work for anybody. So yeah, if you ain't in condition, then it's not gonna work out well for you, especially someone who's killing themselves to make the weight. So anyone, I think the only reason that Diaz lasted the entire fight, obviously he's got a granite chin, but because he's not having to boil down to make that weight, he actually has to eat himself up to make that weight. So therefore he's got the natural gas tank and a bit more sort of fat on the body to be able to absorb shots. Anyone who's stripped themselves all the way down, who's likely going to be like having to hang on from round sort of 5, 6, 7 onwards just due to that pace, they're probably hitting the canvas. They're not seeing 12 rounds. So yeah, his work rate is always going to make him a nightmare for anyone, especially someone that's economical.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. So we're going to talk about another big fight over the weekend. In some people's minds, anyways, didn't do great pay-per-view numbers from what I'm hearing. But Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. This is a fight that a lot of people thought was going to be a test for Jake Paul. Some people even had Anderson Silva winning. They this was a competitive fight. I thought Paul won 5 rounds to 3 on my card. Scored the knockdown at the in the 8th round, so I think he secured the victory. But do you guys consider this a quality victory for Jake Paul, or is just Anderson Silva too old? What do you guys think of this victory? We'll start with you, Corey. What did you think of Jake Paul's victory over Anderson Silva?
I think that the victory was pretty good. Straight up off the bat, man, I gotta salute Anderson Silva, man. This fight had no drug testing, and I just really got to put that out there in the beginning, because I feel like Jake Paul, man, people might say he's clean, he's this, he's that. I'm not, trying to throw salt on his name or anything like that, but there's a reason why it wasn't any drug testing. Yeah, for real. So I just felt like, and at the same token, Anderson Silva took a lot of punches, you guys. The guy's 47 years old, and he took a lot of punishment. I don't think a lot of you guys out there understand how much punishment that Anderson Silva took. And then post-fight, he said he was still going to continue his career. I think that, Anderson Silva, after seeing this, 8 round, and I know he didn't want to lose to Jake Paul. That's why he still kept fighting. I feel like this fight could have been, I feel like Jake Paul could have possibly ended him a little earlier, but I feel like he kind of gassed out a little bit in the 5th and 6th round, and then he kind of got his wits. He has like small bursts. Jake Paul does, and then he goes back to defense and pop shotting from the outside. But as far as Anderson Silva, man, he was trying to show that jab and have that distance, but he was just too old and too slow. Father time waits for no man. Anderson Silva is no different, and I just feel like right now Anderson Silva needs to hang him up. He did as best as he could possibly do at 47 years old. At one point in his career in the UFC, he was the best fighter in the world. He's far from that now, and I just don't want to see him tarnish his legacy anymore, man. He was a really, really good UFC fighter, man. Possibly one of the best ever to ever do it in the UFC. And for him to lose to Jake Paul, I do think it tarnishes his resume and his legacy. I know a lot of people might beg to differ with me, man, but you got Jake Paul and you're on the losing side of that, and you're supposed to be mentioned as one of the GOATs. I beg to differ, man. I mean, I just feel like, Anderson Silva should have hung him up a long time ago, man. It's just, he's just adding insult to injury at this point. I know he has to make a living, though.
Shout out to Saul Alvarez with the $4.99 super chat. He said, "Are you guys talking about the Japanese fight? It was fire." I think he was referring back to when we were talking about the Zepeda Jo Jo Diaz fight. No, we weren't talking about that fight. But shout out to you for the super chat. Okay, Base. I'm not sure if you saw this fight, but even if you did or you didn't, would you consider this a quality victory for Jake Paul beating Anderson Silva at 47 years old?
No, I watched it. It's a quality victory for him, I guess, for the level of opponent. Not so much level of opponents he fight. That's the wrong word. The length of time he's sort of been fighting and training within boxing. I mean, it's only been 4 years, if that, like from start to finish, maybe 5. So to be able to compete with someone who, yes, admittedly is 47 years old, but someone who's actually got a legit boxing background, someone that was gonna fight, Roy Jones Jr. in their prime back in the day, and obviously someone who's such an MMA striking legend. So it's not like, oh, he's a wrestling MMA guy. Like he's a striker. So with all of that, yeah, you have to say that it's a very, very good win for Jake Paul, for someone of his level, and he is improving. So yeah, overall, I can't really knock it. And let's be fair, what is he now? Was that his 6th fight or was that his 7th fight? It was his 6th one, right?
Yeah, something like that. He's
Right.
still not in double digits in fights yet. So
Yeah, so ultimately, for someone who's only had 6 fights, I think it's 6 fights and 4 KOs now, right? Most prospect boxers are fighting guys with double and in some cases like triple digit losses in their 6th fight with no amateur background. So, for someone who's fighting, one of, if not a top 5 all-time great in combat sports, yeah, I rate it. Just before I just want to say, I think I joined an hour late. I got to apologize. Our clocks, we brought our clocks forward the other day, so this started at 12 my time. I thought it was 1 o'clock, so that's why I joined late. Apologies.
no, don't worry about it, man. You're on a different time zone, brother.
I am. Oh, but I just want to say real quick, if you guys spoke about the True Geordie Tyson Fury thing,
We did. You want?
I just want to say he uploaded another video earlier on today reacting to his video with Tyson.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right,
saw
yeah.
that.
I was gonna say that was hot. I enjoyed that very much, and everything he said there made perfect sense. And it's about time that someone actually called out all the hypocrisies on a huge platform, and that's what he did. So big up to him.
Yeah, that's good, man. I think he's getting a lot of positive feedback. I haven't heard anyone criticize it, really. What did you think of this Jake Paul fight? Did you consider this a quality win?
I mean, look, for him, it's definitely a quality win, for sure. I got to give him credit for the win, but so shout out to Jake Paul, right? I'll give him credit for the win. I just want to address the MMA fans. So I saw this MMA fighter out here complain about Jake Paul, like, oh, he's fighting all these old MMA fighters, and then he's making our legends look bad, and then it's not fair. It's not even their sport. Why is he doing this to them? They're old, they're washed up. Well, these are our legends, and he's embarrassing them. But then he wants to act like he's all for the fighter, and he's going after Dana White about the fighter pay. I think he's just doing it for show, and blah blah blah. Like you MMA motherfuckers didn't give a fuck about what James Toney meant to us as boxing fans when he dragged him in a fucking octagon to get mauled by Randy Couture, did you? You didn't give a fuck about any of that shit then, did you? You didn't give a shit about any of the old washed up boxers that would go to a fucking cage to get mauled. You didn't give a shit about R. Jimerson, did you, when Horace Gracie took him down? You don't give a fuck about that. All you did, you made fun of him, is what you did. So too bad. If you're getting the medicine back, then that's on you. Okay, if your fighters are old, washed up, and there's no more paydays for them in the UFC, and they didn't make enough money, so now that they're going to make the bag with and they're going to get knocked out or knocked down or beat by Jake Paul, and you think that's embarrassing for you, too fucking bad. Okay, you know what it is? It's a piece of your own medicine. That's what it is. All right. You're just mad that Jake Paul's beating your dudes. I mean, that's really what it is, okay? Like, it is what it is, But at the end of the day, it's true. Like I'm just saying, like, all this crying they're doing, like, oh, Anderson Silva, he's a Hall of Famer. He means everything to us, and Jake Paul just beating him up in a boxing match. Well, too bad. All right, that's what you dudes did. All right? That's what you dragged the fucking Ray Mercer in his 50s. Ray Mercer was in his 50s, and you put him in there with a former UFC heavyweight champion. I know Ray Mercer knocked him the fuck out, but we know that wasn't the intention. You know what the fuck you were doing? So I feel no sympathy for the charade. You dragged a WWE wrestler, CM Punk, on a pay-per-view to get embarrassed in front of the world. I have no sympathy for the UFC and MMA and all the fans crying about it. Okay? Just really quick about the previous super chat. Just a quick shout out, okay, to Hiroto. Okay, I cannot pronounce that last name. Okay, but he had a big upset victory against Kenshiro. It was actually a pretty good fight. I caught it just yesterday.
Kenshiro Taraji beat Hiroto Kayaguchi.
Didn't Toro win?
No, Kayaguchi.
Oh, Kenshiro. My bad. Kenshiro didn't win. You're right. Gotcha.
It was an amazing fight. If anyone hasn't seen it, you need to watch that.
Didn't Hiroto win?
No, he lost.
No, he lost.
Taraji won. He was a masterclass performance. Stopped him in the 7th round.
It's really one of the best performances.
I guess I got it mixed up. All right.
Shout out to Saul Alvarez. He says Jake Paul is in the Hall of Fame now since Gotti is in. I mean, y'all need to leave Gotti alone, man. Let him rest in peace. Everyone just keeps throwing that up there, man. I mean, shit.
First of all, Gotti wasn't even that bad. Gotti was a world champion. Gotti got beat against the elite fighters. All right. So it is like when Jake Paul beats a John Molina, we'll talk. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's champion 2 weight classes. Give him a break, man. Give him a break. Calix, I know this isn't your cup of tea, but I gotta ask you: would this be considered a good victory for Jake Paul, or if you want to take the route and say that you don't care, that's fine too.
No, I don't, and I completely understand the sentiment that he's 6 fights in, and this is pretty much on par with what we see for fighters 6 fights in, right? The issue is when you put it behind the added paywall, when you slap pay-per-view on it, it becomes a different thing. So I think that's the backlash behind it. But for me, I don't care. Different strokes for different folks. I don't try to ruin anybody's fun. If you're into this, that's fine. It's just not for me. I still haven't seen him fight. So Jake Paul, Logan Paul, they're the same to me. I wouldn't know the difference between the two if I saw them next to each other. I haven't seen either one of them fight. I know Logan Paul took Floyd Mayweather's O, according to Beeb. So, but at the end of the day, I don't really care about it. I guess I'll be a little bit interested once he fights a real boxer. But other than that, I wasn't interested in this at all.
Yeah. I do think that it's starting to run its course and it's past its sell-by date now because the pay-per-view numbers are showing that a lot of people aren't getting behind this. But I think it's a little different, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Base. I think KSI does pretty well on DAZN when he's on DAZN. I think he gets pretty good viewership. I don't think Jake Paul's doing pretty well over here. But is KSI and that Misfits crew over in the UK? How are they doing over there? Because I'm hearing that they did pretty good numbers on DAZN for that show.
Well, yeah, the KSI one, which was the first of them, was pay-per-view. I don't know the exact numbers, but it was somewhere, I think, in the mid 500,000 buys. Now, obviously, I guess you've got to, factor in that is at a different price point, obviously, compared to what you guys pay over there. But comparatively, yeah, it done pretty well. I think it was between 400 and 500, somewhere in that ballpark.
Good.
But yeah, they definitely get traffic, and their arenas are packed from the start of the show to the end. It's not like, people just coming for the main event. They're there from the start to the finish. The audience loves it. It's a different crowd. It's a different environment. Yeah, it seems all right.
Do you think if Jake Paul were to fight Tommy Fury, you think it would make sense to put that fight in the UK? You think it would do better in the UK as opposed to?
It would. Yeah. It would do, because it's number one. It's Tommy Fury, who I'm not saying he's a big name, but the UK just in general are more behind boxing. So the US aren't going to care that, he's finally fighting a boxer, because no one knows who Tommy Fury is over there. He's big over here because he was on Love Island, and his girlfriend's a multi-millionaire based off of Love Island. So that's his lane. So yeah, people know it from that. You would be able to draw some of that Misfits crowd in there, plus some of the other boxing fans say, okay, well, he's a Fury, so let's see him do the business. It would do better business over here, but I don't know if it would be the same money in terms of guarantees and stuff. I don't know what he pays himself working for Showtime, as opposed to if that's going to end up on like BT Sport Box Office or something.
Gotcha.
Yeah, B. One quick point on that too is I don't think it's an accident that he said this week that he would entertain that fight over there, and also you heard this week that Deontay Wilder wants to entertain fights with some fighters over in the UK rather than the Andy Ruiz fight. I think they're looking at the pay-per-view numbers. I think they're looking at a dwindling market in America, especially when it comes to pay-per-view. And they're realizing that if they want to make the type of money that they want to make, if they want to be in front of the eyes that they want to be in front of, then they're going to have to go over there and do it. Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua is just way bigger, more lucrative than anything he would get by fighting Andy Ruiz. And that's just the facts.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if they do go through the Andy Ruiz fight and then maybe try to make the Joshua fight after the Andy Ruiz fight. That's the big question. But I got one last topic I kind of want to squeeze in here, and I know we've been talking about this all year, but it kind of unfolded a little bit now. Like a lot of times we say that it's all rumors. We're not sure. We can't speak on certain things. But both fighters came out today and revealed some things that were very shocking to me, to say the least. So Terrence Crawford made that video and talked about the deal with Spence and how the fight was being put together and why the fight fell through. And he kind of detailed it all. And he said that he wasn't getting a guarantee. And Spence replied on Twitter. He didn't come out and do a video like Crawford did, but he replied on Twitter and said, neither one of us had a guarantee. I just had the bigger percentage, which is kind of mind-boggling to me, because when is a fight of this magnitude? And I know a lot of people like to try to downplay. I like Eddie Hearn's trying to say, like, downplays this the significance of this fight and how big it would be. I'm not sure if he's right or wrong. Again, he could be right, but we don't really know for sure, because sometimes when you put two guys together, like I always say, they create this synergy, and even though there's no past data to suggest that these guys are stars or whatever, maybe if you do put these two guys together, the fight right, it could be good numbers. I don't know, but nevertheless, I've never seen a fight like this where both fighters are not getting a guarantee and they're only getting a percentage. I'm not going to go around and ask you like who to blame here, but can we at least criticize maybe PBC, because they were the guys that were trying to orchestrate this deal? And again, we're not behind the scenes, we're not in the room, we're not businessmen in terms of boxing. But does this sound right to you that neither fighter had a guaranteed percentage? I'm going to start with you, Calix. Is this kind of off the wall or what?
I've been frustrated with the whole thing and been trying to tune it out, but I had people texting me the whole thread, saving me from actually going and read it on Twitter. And the two things that stood out to me, well, three things really. One, that even multi-million-dollar fighters use the jailbroken fire sticks. That's number one. Number two, before we get to your guarantee thing, number two that intrigued me and piqued my interest was he didn't get, and this is now both of them said this. This is things that both of them have said, so I have to assume that it's correct, that he didn't get a rough draft of a contract until August. Now, he's been a promotional free agent since November 2021, and when he became a promotional free agent, PBC came out and made Spence versus Ugas, and they made Spence versus Ugas, they told us, because they wanted to do an undisputed fight with Terrence Crawford. That's what they told us at the time. We all wanted to see Spence versus Crawford right then and there. They said, no, you're going to wait till after the Ugas fight. So the Ugas fight happens in April, and then we have to wait 4 months from April to August before this guy gets a rough draft for a contract. Why the wait? Why the wait? Why did it take that long? Why did it take from November to August for him to get a rough draft of a contract for a fight with Spence when he was a free agent for, what is that, 9 months, 10 months? Yeah. To me, that's unacceptable. And when I see that Danny Garcia got a guarantee and got 40% of the revenue, Ugas got 1 million, and nobody's refuting this. I'm just going off the numbers that are thrown out there, and nobody's coming back and refuting it. So I have to assume it's true. Even Yordenis Ugas got 1 million guaranteed and 40% of the pay-per-view profit. So now both of these fighters, no guarantee, and Bud gets 35% guarantee, or 35% of the pay-per-view split with no guarantee. When I saw that, and then when I saw Spence say that he doesn't have a guarantee either, I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? What are we doing? It just screams, the whole charade for the past 5 years just screams to me that they've never wanted, and I'm not putting this on Spence. This could be Spence just not understanding what Al is doing, but I just think that PBC has never wanted their fighters to fight Bud. They just never wanted Bud to run through their stable. That's just my opinion.
I agree, man. I mean, PBC, Errol just is probably trusting what they're telling him, and they're probably like feeding him a load of, you know what. It could be. I mean, again, I don't know what they're doing, but it just sounds like he's being convinced to just trust what they're doing and not question it at all. But Corey, have you ever seen a situation like this where a fight like this, both fighters did not get a guaranteed purse offered to them?
Man, it's a wild situation going on in the welterweight division. I've never seen it. These two fighters, have been through a lot, and I feel like Errol Spence with the car accident and, Bud Crawford, with the in and out of the deal. And that's another thing that I want to talk about the guarantees and stuff. You know, this is the first time I feel like in Terrence Crawford's career that he's been a free agent, and that he's able to, you know, pick and choose what he wants to do. And he does have a point. You know, Earl Spence can't really do that. He doesn't have, you know, all of that freedom that Terrence Crawford has. And I feel like Terrence Crawford came with valid points. You know, and I just think that I haven't really seen a fight of this magnitude with a zero guarantee. You know, and then, you know, on the other hand, you know, you got Terrence Crawford saying that, you know, he was actually the one that was trying to make this fight happen. You know, he was the one that was, you know, calling, you know, Al Heyman, you know, calling Earl Spence. You know, he's actively trying to sit down, and obviously that's not how business works. You know, you just don't sit in a room and, you know, you get the two fighters to sit in a room and the deal gets done. That's not how a fight gets done. We all know that. I wish it was that easy. And, you know, I know Crawford probably thought it was that easy, but the politics of boxing is not going to allow that to happen that easy. Al Heyman is not going to let Earl Spence go anywhere. That's what it's all boiled down to. It all boils down to Earl Spence staying with PBC and PBC getting the revenue from Earl Spence. They don't want that revenue to go anywhere else. They put too much time and effort into Earl Spence to let anybody else promote his fight. Okay? That's first and foremost. Okay? Mm-hmm. You're not going to promote a fighter for over 10 years and just let the biggest fighter in his fucking career go to the farther wayside and let somebody else promote it. You're just not going to let that happen. You know, and Al Heyman's got to protect himself at the same time. And he's saying that, you don't want to stop the fight. You don't want to, you know, have a ceiling on the fight. And that's what Terrence Crawford said, Al Heyman said. And what that reads to me is Al Heyman's just protecting himself. Okay? The ceiling is Al Heyman. You know, with there being rumblings of him taking 20% off each fight that he makes. That's a pretty hefty share. You know, if both fighters supposed to get 50-50, we know that's not going to go down now. I just feel like there's too many hands in the pot. Even with Earl Spence being managed by PBC and Crawford being managed by pretty much nobody but himself, there's still too many hands in the pot. And there's too many backers behind Earl Spence, I feel like, that won't let this fight go to any other company but, you know, Showtime or PBC or the Fox, you know, just the PBC in general. It will not go outside of the PBC, I feel like. And, you know, I think Al Heyman is protected his investment very well. And, you know, are you mad at a guy that's put in this much effort with one fighter? And do you expect for Al Heyman to just let Black Prime take over and just do the fight with no, you know, I don't know. I just feel like right now Crawford and Earl Spence is not going to get done 2022, and I doubt it gets done in 2023.
Base, what do you think of this whole situation? No guarantees. The fighters going back and forth, telling us what's going on behind the scenes for the first time.
Hey, Beebs, I'm going to head out, man. I don't mean to cut anybody off. I'm going to head out. Thank you guys so much.
Salute,
Thank
Corey.
You guys have a great night.
To me, right, this thing is mad. First of all, that goes to show you right now that as kind of like what Eddie Hearn said, unfortunately, as much as us in the boxing industry think that this is a huge fight, for boxing it's an incredibly huge fight, but the general audience, it can't be that high, because if this is as big a fight as people claim, you get a guarantee and it gets made because you need that. Now, the thing that's strange to me in this whole situation is, all right, neither person's getting the guarantee. It says Spence gets 65% of the, you know, I guess the pot, whatever it makes, right, on the back end, as they like to say. And then Crawford's supposed to get 35%. Well, in that scenario, regardless of how much the fight makes, you know, at the gate, revenue wise, on pay-per-view buys or whatever, Al Heyman would end up getting more money from the 25 million guarantee that Spence is going to get, because the fight itself is not going to generate $50 million. based on current pay-per-view projections that both fighters have had, in Spencer's pay-per-views have dropped significantly, and Crawford's last pay-per-view was actually one of his higher ones, but none of them, together they don't make 400K. And then again, as you said, that 65% of it, Heyman gets maybe 20% of Spencer's 65% of whatever it generates. He would end up making more for the 25 guarantee if my maths is decent, which it is. So the whole issue doesn't make sense to me. And when Errol Spence literally comes out and tells on himself, I wasn't getting a guarantee either, it's like, well, should that not tell you that business wise your man is not doing right by you, especially in what's supposed to be the biggest fight of your career?
Not a good deal for you either. Yeah,
horrendous. And the fact that he put that on, and now he might not be smart enough to actually understand, oh shit, like that actually, that doesn't sound cool. Because remember, Crawford said in the thing, he said, we got 25 million guaranteed, they got 50 mil for us. And the first thing he said, well, what about the back end? You've never made your highest guarantee has only ever been 2 million. I think the highest purse he had was with Mikey Garcia, where they split. I think it was 10 million. I think they got 6 or 7 million each or something. So if your highest payday is 7 million, that's over 3 times. That's almost 4 times your highest payday, and you're worried about back end money now. When the whole thing makes no sense to me. And this whole thing about not all money is good money. Okay, maybe it isn't, but guess what? If it's in the escrow account for you, it can't be taken away from you because you've done the legitimate services to make that money. So wherever it comes from is out of no concern to you because it can't be taken back. The contract you've signed is for this fight, where regardless of where that's come from, they can't now legally take that from you afterwards because you've fulfilled a purpose that is above board in a contract that everyone can see has been ratified by lawyers. So you're fine. So regardless of whether it's good money or bad money, wherever it comes from, it's not your concern. Like, make the money, make the fight. This clearly just comes down to you don't think you can beat this guy, or your team doesn't, because it should not be this hard. And the fact that your own manager and your advisor hasn't even said, okay, we'll put up this amount of money for you in this situation and make sure that you're taken care of is crazy to me.
D, what do you think about this after you heard all this crazy stuff? You're on mute, sir. You're on mute.
I followed it. I was unmuting myself, but I followed it back and forth. To me, I think people, you just got to keep it simple. Like go to the root, right? What are we trying to accomplish? We're just trying to get a damn fight. We're just trying to get Crawford and Spence in the ring. That's it, right? Once people and no offense to Corey, but he's talking about, why would Al Heyman do this, and why like I don't give a fuck what Al Heyman or why he would do something, or why if he invested in Spence, why would he just give the fight to somebody out? Like, all I know is this, okay? I want to see a damn fight, and Spence just acts different when it comes to Crawford, right? When it comes to Crawford, get a belt first. When it comes to Crawford, wait for me to get all the belts that are on the PBC side, right? And then complain about it. He keeps talking about all the heavy lifting. Oh, I did all the heavy lifting. Crawford didn't do anything. I did all the heavy lifting. Because none of those fights were going to happen for Crawford. He tried to make a lot of those fights. Couldn't make them happen because he wasn't on the right side. If you were to fight him, what makes you think all the other PBC champions were going to fight him? Right, like this whole thing, and then it's such like a pity party. Oh, I did all the heavy lifting. Canelo did all the heavy lifting in 168. Plan didn't. Guess what? They still make the fight happen. And guess what? He went to PBC, even though Al Heyman never invested in Canelo. He never where was all that then, right? But he went to the B-sider side to make the fight happen because he wanted to make it happen. Canelo said, "I want to be undisputed," right? Since he said that. And look, all power to Caleb Plant. He negotiated hard knowing Canelo wanted that. But guess what? They still made it happen. Even in playing hardball, all it did was delay the fight from September to November, right? That's it. In this case, Jesus Christ, I don't know what else you're asking from Crawford. I just don't know what else they want this dude to do. I just don't. And then, like, no guarantees? What do you mean? Like, if you don't got the money to do a guarantee, then someone else should be making the fight, quite frankly. What do you mean no guarantees? Right? Another telling thing is it wasn't very smart of Crawford to come out and say both him and Spence streamed the fights. And then Crawford's going out of his way to tell people, like, oh, I was talking to Spence and I told him, oh, no one buys these fights anyway. People steal the fights. Why are we going to do pay-per-view without, because he was making the argument, like, why wouldn't we get a guarantee in this volatile time when people steal shit? But you don't come out, you don't say that. You don't come out and say you stream the fights too.
Well, to be fair, I didn't hear Crawford say he streamed the
Oh, he
fight.
didn't say that.
No, it was he was quoting what Spence said.
Well, he quoted Spence, right? But he said Crawford knew a
He
little
said no
too
one.
much.
He said no one's buying the fight.
Here's what he said. He was talking about the fire sticks. Like, he knew a little too much for a dude that doesn't stream. Like, all right, like he was bringing up the fire sticks and this, and then Spence, oh yeah, I got the fire stick too. And then he was talking about what people do. So maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I feel that was an admission.
Okay,
fair enough. Here's the thing, man. I think Base touched upon this too. You let your fighter go where he can make the most money. Eddie Hearn has done this several times. Like he's let fighters that he's had. Eddie Hearn had a lot, like, works with a lot of fighters, but they're not like they're on fight to fight deals. Like, for a lot of the fighters he dealt with, like I think Chisora, Dillian White. Correct me if I'm wrong, Base. These guys are on fight to fight deals. Haney was had a couple fight contract with Eddie.
he was on a long-term he was on I think it was a 5-fight deal, and then he was just fighting as a free agent after that for the last 2 fights that he had on the
deal. And Eddie said, you know what, go over to Top Rank and do your thing, right? Because that's the best fight for you. Now, Al Heyman is an advisor, right? Technically, he's not a promoter. Okay, yeah, he does have a company called PBC, and obviously he's looking out for the best interests of PBC and how they can make the most money. I get that. But at the end of the day, right, this is what you do. You put your fighter in the best position he can be in to make the most money possible, right? And after that fight, win, lose, or draw, he comes back to you. If he loses the fight and Crawford becomes undisputed, then guess what? You let Spence come back to you, you move him up to 154, and you start the process all over again, and you start building his legacy at 154. So, as you said, he could give Al, Al's going to get a cut no matter what, because he's the advisor. What it all comes down to is egos, really. Just like Mayweather had this ego against Bob Arum, where I'm not gonna make Bob Arum money, and Mayweather has come out and said recently, a couple of years ago, why are we going to make other promoters rich? Again, they're putting their own personal feelings before the well-being of the fighter, and obviously promoters want to make money too, but you need to allow your fighter to make money first, because that's how you in turn can make money. If Spence were to win that fight, come back as undisputed champion, then you bring him back as undisputed champion, and you either move him right up or whatever. That enhances the brand of PBC if Spence can win that fight. I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what D-Style says, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think he's implying that PBC never wanted that fight. And I kind of agree. Did you also say that as well, Bates? Did you say that you don't think PBC wanted that fight either?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, and it's quite clear that PBC doesn't want that fight because they know it is a fight that Spence could lose. But again, like I said, not to sound redundant, if he loses the fight, okay, then you move him up to 154.
The thing I found funny about this, I just want to touch on quickly, where this was like last week or the week before, where Spence was basically saying, it's hard for me to make the 147. Like, we knew that years ago, right? So you can't use that as an excuse. So then you're saying, okay, well, it was supposed to be November, and now Crawford's gonna have this fight, and so now this thing's gonna end up getting pushed back. But it's like you was gonna fight in November anyway, supposedly. It was still hard to make the weight then. So why do you now come out moaning and complaining about it at this point when it's like, well, that's still the exact same time frame. Now you're talking about possibly fighting Furman in December or January. That's still 2 months after when you was claiming you was initially going to fight, where it's still incredibly hard to make the weight. So that all of that even then just shows you that this whole thing is not about, oh, it's hard to make the weight. It's about this guy's actually going to have a fight, so that he's not going to be 14, 15, 16 months out of the ring before I get to fight him, which means it's going to be a much harder task for me to have to, to win that fight. It's just when you hear so many of the things come, it's almost like the common sense and the logic starts dissipating from people's brains when they're tweeting, and then they don't realize that this whole stuff can then be picked apart, and you see the narrative and you can understand what's been happening. And even all the way back from 2018 when him and Crawford met up backstage at the event, and he's like, well, yeah, I've got the 4 fights, I've got the Mikey fight and Sean and whatever. And then he's like, oh, so Al didn't say nothing about Terrence. Nah. He's like, well, no, he didn't. So even from then, it's like, Terrence Crawford has not ever been in the plans. And as much as you want to claim big fish this or whatever, big fish can guarantee his opponent money. So all of that, it just tells you literally none of these guys are number one as big as they claim, and none of them are on a platform that has any real grounding. And it's unfortunate that these people are just not intelligent enough to realize how badly they've been fleeced and mismanaged in their careers.
Yeah. One last point before we head out. You mentioned the weight thing, but didn't before the Ugas fight, he say, oh, I got a nutritionist. I wasn't living the right way before. I kind of cleaned up my act a little bit. I moved to a ranch. I'm away from the fast life. I got a, like I said, nutritionist, and I'm made weight very easily this time. So
yeah,
but
now all of a sudden it's killing me. Yeah.
So it is what it is. But Base, man, it's always a pleasure having you on. Thank you for stopping by, man. It was a great show tonight. Thank everyone in the chat, and we'll catch you next time, man. Peace out, everybody. Thank you, Base.
No doubt.